everyone. Today is an extremely busy morning because today I'm going to till my garden. Woohoo! I'm really excited because finally spring is here and I'm able to till my garden because tomorrow I want to plant those potatoes. So what are we going to have to eat today? What we're going to have is, I had a whole bunch of leftover Sloppy Joe. I made 10 pounds of Sloppy Joe because I had my extended family for a meal. So what am I going to do with the leftover Sloppy Joe? We're tired of eating it that way. I'm going to turn that into spaghetti. So we're going to have spaghetti. Now spaghetti is something everybody makes, and I'm not going to bore you with a 10-minute video on making spaghetti. But I'm going to share with you what I'm making with the spaghetti. And that is Pizza Hut breadsticks. The name is actually Pizza Hut breadsticks. It is a copycat recipe. It is our family favorite, and we're using the bread machine. What I'm going to do is mix this up, and while it's rising, I'm going outside and I'm going to till my garden. So let's show you how I make it. Simple. It's basically your pizza crust recipe, but it actually is Pizza Hut breadsticks. It calls for is 1.5 cups of warm water. Now you don't have to have a bread machine to make this. You can make it any way you wish. So it's 1.5 cups of warm water. To that we're going to add 1 tablespoon of yeast. Now I can keep my yeast for a long time, a year or even longer, if I store it in the freezer. 1 tablespoon of yeast. 1 tablespoon of white sugar. And 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. I only use 1 teaspoon. Two tablespoons of oil, and I always use olive oil. And then 4 cups of flour, and that's all we need to do to have the breadsticks. Then we're going to have a butter mixture when the breadsticks have totally been risen. So it's going to be 4 cups of flour. So I have 1/2 cup here. Alright, now we're going to turn the machine on, and we're going to set it to the dough setting. All bread machines have a dough setting only. So before I go outside, I'm going to make sure that this is going to be incorporated correctly. And in a few moments, I'll get back to you and show you what it looks like when it starts to form the ball. Alright, see how nice it's starting to form? Let me see if I can tilt it for you. So now all we have to do is close the lid. In an hour and a half, it will be finished. And now I'm going to go out and I get to work on my garden. So our dough is finished rising, and now we're going to work on the spaghetti sauce. So I have 1 can of my homemade spaghetti sauce. So we're going to only use 1 quart because we're only making enough for 2 people for 1 meal. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some of my Sloppy Joe, and we're going to add that. Go ahead and add about 1 pound of my Sloppy Joe to my spaghetti sauce. The rest of the Sloppy Joe, I think I'm going to go ahead and freeze it. And we can use this with rice, with all kinds of meals. It's just going to give it a little more of a sweeter flavor, but it's perfect in making it in lasagna and everything like that. We're going to put this on the stove on low, and we're going to get working on our breadsticks and get working on the noodles. Alright, so it calls for a half a cup of butter, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. So what we do is we're going to put it in here. My canned butter is amazing. I just love this canned butter. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to have 3 tablespoons of the butter. Now you don't really have to measure that much. That's lower 3. Now we're going to have 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And 2 tablespoons of parsley and a teaspoon of garlic powder. So this is my homegrown parsley that I have dehydrated. So we're just going to go 3 tablespoons. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit over. That's good. And then the garlic powder is my very own garlic powder, dehydrated garlic. And I'm just going to go with a half a tablespoon because I like it like that. Alright, and that's all it is to it. Now, this is what we're going to brush on for our garlic bread. So, I'll get back to you in a minute and I'll show you what it looks like. I have to add Parmesan cheese. I have a little bit of Parmesan cheese left, so we're going to put that in there. But it also calls for 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. So, the ingredients to brush on the breadsticks are, once again, half cup of butter, 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 3 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 2 tablespoons of parsley. This is what our dough looks like. Now we're going to go ahead, flour onto our work surface. And we're going to take the dough out. Now your dough might be slightly sticky, so just put a little bit. We don't want to have too much flour, because flour on bread dough or any kind of dough tends to make it more dense, and we want it a nice light and fluffy. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll this out. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it in half, and we're going to work with half at a time. Actually, I'm going to go right on the cookie sheet and roll it that way. Now, some people like them thick, some people like them thin. It all depends on how you like it. I roll it to about fairly thick because I like a nice chewy breadstick. I don't like a hard breadstick. So there we go. Looks perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to brush on our garlic powder and olive oil and Parmesan cheese topping. Yum, yum. Oh, it smells so good. And this is actually far better than any restaurant that you're going to find. This is just really, really good. Alright, we're going to take our pizza cutter and we're just going to cut it in the size that you like. If you have children, you can cut them smaller. But I just cut them like this. And there we go. We have 1 tray finished of our Pizza Hut garlic breadsticks. This is great with a salad or a soup. You don't have to have it with spaghetti. Now we'll go ahead and we'll make our next batch. Spray our pan a little bit. And go ahead and roll the other one. Go ahead and put this on. I try to use everything up. So good. This would be a great pizza crust recipe as well. So we're going to go with longer ones on this one. I'm just going to go like that. These also are great heated up the next day. And there you go. And I'll show you what everything looks like when it's finished. don't waste anything, I have a little bit of this left. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this in with the noodles when I cook them. Alright everyone, the breadsticks are finished and see how beautiful they look? So we have a breadstick and we have our spaghetti. Yum yum! After a long day of work, this is a good meal, it's cheap, and you can't beat homemade. Take care everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow.